Hey everyone, if you want to see how this fish was caught, click the link in the top right corner and go watch that video. This is actually my first time shooting one, but a lot of people told me that the meat was really good, and I even had a buddy in Japan tell me that it's very close family to hamachi, practically, which is Pacific yellowtail. I usually run my knife along the back. I do an incision on the other side so that the second fillet is a lot easier to get off. At this point, I usually cut down deep enough that I get to the rib cage. When I get to the rib cage, I either decide to go through the stomach or start cutting the rib cage part. And the reason for this is that a lot of people would actually skip over that area, but there's a lot of good meat that's hidden under the rib cage. At this point, after cutting the rib cage, I like to go down the spine to ensure that I get as much meat as possible, and then just do the last couple bones, which are a lot easier to cut through. After you're finished with the upper part of the fish fillet or the body, I like to go through the bottom half and do an incision, kind of like if you're doing the top half of the fish. By doing this and have already finished doing the rib cage, I can easily just go along the body like this and smoothly do the cuts. Once you get through most of the fillet, you can actually go to the back part and with one easy cut, get through the rest of the meat. You can see here that actually the whole entire body of the fish is clean of meat. What I'll do here is I'll actually start cutting off the rib bones. Cutting at an angle like this makes it a little easier for myself to get through all the rib bones without leaving any behind. So for the following times I deal with an Almaco Jack, this might change the whole entire process. Every time I deal with a certain type of fish or I deal with a certain type of preparation, I adapt the way I do it for what best suits that fish. Personally, I like this type of sashimi without any skin on it. Depending on the fish, I would either sear it with a blowtorch for cooking or take boiling water and do a Japanese technique on the backside. So over here I'm removing the pin bones down the middle. This actually is a little bit easier to do just by cutting through it rather than trying to pull them all out. Once you separate the upper part of the fish and the lower half, you can actually start removing the skin. I go flat against the cutting board, which in this case was a little flimsy, but with a better cutting board you can do this much easier. And while running the knife flat against the cutting board while holding the skin, you can actually have a decent enough grip to just go back and forth and end up with little to no waste. And by doing this, you'll have a clean piece of fish. At this point, you can just double check that there's no pin bones. Then you can go to the next part, which is the cutting. By no means am I a professional. I tend to just learn as I go. And this knife was actually a gift from a friend. It's a yanagiba, which is meant for sashimi and sushi in general. So the first piece I cut off, which was a little bit of an odd shaped piece, I would actually use that for making a roll later on. I like to keep it even cuts or as close to it as I can. So when you start cutting through the fillet, you end up with a couple waste bits that actually don't fall in the shape of most. What I like to do here is I like to kind of chop them up, kind of like onions. You want them thin, and then you can take sriracha, or what I'm going to include after this little clip is my personal favorite, which is a chili paste. And it's your choice of using mayo or not to make like a spicy tuna kind of mixture. And then you can do anything with this. You can put this over rice. You can easily just make a roll out of this or make a hand roll. It's all up to you. It's better to use as much of the fish as you can. So like using the head of the fish or using the wings of the fish. The link for this chili paste can be found in my description. You can just add as much as you personally would like. I don't go too heavy on that, it's just to give it a little extra flavor. At this point, you have a nice platter of sashimi that you can share with friends. It really does taste just like hamachi in my opinion, and the quality is very tender and there's no sinew or gristle in there. If you want to see more content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And again, thanks for watching.